No DQ Galaxy. We are live with the NoDQ.com recap of Friday Night Smackdown for April the 22nd, 2022. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. This week's SmackDown was a live show, and then WWE afterwards taped a second episode of SmackDown to air next week. That is because WWE will be going on a European tour next weekend. They decided to tape 2 SmackDowns this week. You can check out the spoilers for that show next week over on NoDQ.com. Now, with that being said, let's get to this recap. We had Adam Pearce in the ring for a contract signing. You guys know what this means. Letter grade down. Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey. Why are we having a contract signing when the match was already announced? You already advertised it. Shouldn't you sign the contract before you start announcing the match and start hyping it up and advertising it? Just saying. Anyways, Drew Gulak came down to the ring and brought out the contract. Adam Pearce did not have it in the ring at first. Anyways, I guess the storyline here is that Drew Gulak is interning to be the new assistant for Adam Pearce. This was your usual contract signing segment. Back and forth here with the talking. Charlotte gloated about beating Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. Crowd was chanting, "You tapped out" at Charlotte. She said once again she was fixing her bra. Charlotte talked about the rules for this match, said she always finds a way to win. And then Ronda responded by saying that this time for this I Quit match, there will be no referee there to help her. Charlotte then flipped over the table. Typical segment here. Typical moment in the contract signing segments. She flipped over the table. There was a kendo stick under the table. Charlotte tried to use it, but Ronda got it from her, and Ronda used it on Charlotte. Charlotte escaped. And then Drew Gulak took away the kendo stick. That led to him getting the Piper's Pit from Rousey. Rousey put the armbar on Drew Gulak while signing the contract for the match. So now it is official. In case you were wondering last week when they announced the match if it was actually official or not, now it is. Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. I Quit. And by the way, the few moments that Ronda Rousey was talking, not good. Just saying. Kind of a lackluster segment, in my opinion. Did nothing whatsoever to get me excited for this match. We had our first match on SmackDown, which was Xavier Woods, do not call him King Xavier anymore, up against Butch. Not talking about Bushwhacker Butch, but rather the man once known back in the day as Pete Dunne. Anyways, this was a good match. You had Bitch and Botch out there at ringside, Sheamus and Ridge Holland. Kofi Kingston was out there. Xavier tried his roll-ups right off the bat. He calls the roll-ups the small package. That is the backwoods. That's what he's referring to it as. We had Butch taking control of the match, doing the joint manipulation, and they ended up on the outside of the ring. Bitch and Botch were protecting Butch, and he dove over them onto Xavier Woods. Eventually, back in the ring, Xavier made a comeback. Butch started grabbing at the ear, but then Woods out of nowhere hit a DDT and then turned that DDT into the small package, the backwoods, and got the 1-2-3 over Butch. Butch loses again. And then afterwards, Butch went on a little bit of a rampage, attacked one of the ringside security guards, and stormed off through the crowd. And that was that. Match was good, but not really sure what this is all leading to. And Mr. Dark Fantasy, I have not made any plans for WrestleMania. If I go, I will make that decision September, October, November, somewhere around there. We had Aaliyah backstage chatting it up with Ricochet about his intercontinental title run. Jinder Mahal and Shanky showed up and said it was a fluke that Jinder lost to Ricochet. And then Shanky stepped up and said that he wants a match. We had Gunther, whatever his name is, Walter, in a squash match. Pretty good. I'm all for the squash matches, as I've said for many years now. I've always enjoyed the squash matches, especially with the big, strong, tough guys. Gunther just beat the crap out of this guy, put him in the sleeper, and then finished him off with a power bomb. Perfect. No complaints about it. Keep doing this with Gunther. Build him up as a top heel. Backstage, we had RK Bro with Drew McIntyre. And of course, we all know the history between Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. Riddle wanted to make peace and said that they were going to volunteer to be lumberjacks. And Drew McIntyre was cool with this, said anybody that stands up to the Bloodline's BS is good in his book. And Orton said that they are in fact good. Everybody took their lead. But then it was revealed that Sami Zayn was lurking behind them, listening to this conversation. The plot thickens. We had Matt Riddle versus Jey Uso. Very good match here between the two of them. I definitely enjoyed it. I would say this was the highlight of the show. And Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, was watching backstage with Paul Heyman. And Riddle went for a dive. He got caught by Jey. Jey was dominating the early part of the match. Riddle got sent into the steps. Eventually, Riddle made a comeback. He had a floating bro, but Jey kicked out of that. Riddle did the Randy Orton draping DDT. Jimmy got on the apron, but then Randy Orton dumped him onto the table, the vintage Randy Orton dropping the guy on the table. Earlier in the match, Jey actually used Orton's move on Riddle, dumping him on the table. But then Orton took out Jimmy, and then Jey hit a neck breaker. Riddle got his shoulder up, and then Jey went to the top for a splash, but Riddle got his knees up, rolled up Jey, and scored the 1-2-3 victory. Roman Reigns, as you can imagine, was not happy with this outcome. We had a Xia Li promo. She is still being used in WWE, apparently. And she said she's been the protector, but now she is protecting herself. So is she a heel now? I have no idea what's going on here. Nor do I really care for that matter. We then had Sasha Banks and Naomi, the babyface tag team champions, coming out to the ring for a promo and kind of acting heelish, in my opinion. Very cocky, very arrogant. Talked about how they're just getting started. They are trailblazers. They're a sisterhood. We had Shayna Baszler and Natalya interrupting the segment. And Shayna said they are going to stretch and snap every bone out of their bodies. Shayna then shoved Sasha Banks, but Naomi managed to hold them off and pretty much dared Natalya and Shayna Baszler to take the tag team titles off of them. Segment was okay, I guess. I wish they had more options for the women's division right now as far as the tag teams go, since these teams already fought at WrestleMania, but I guess Shayna and Natalya have not gotten their 2-on-2 tag team title match. So whatever. Then backstage, we had Happy Corbin with Madcap Moss. Corbin said he was willing to forgive Madcap Moss and offered him to come back into the fold. But Moss said that there was as much of a chance of that happening as Corbin growing back a full head of hair. Ouch. Anyways, we had Madcap Moss versus Angel Garza of Los Lotharios. You had Humberto out there. They did the kiss cam before the match. Humberto at one point grabbed Moss's leg to give Angel Garza the advantage, but that was not enough to take out Madcap Moss. Moss got the win with the punchline, and then afterwards, Happy Corbin attacked him and stole the Dre trophy. He took the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy, and who knows what he's going to do with it. Do not care about this storyline, by the way. And I still think Madcap Moss needs to ditch the whole Madcap Moss gimmick, quite frankly. Get rid of the suspenders, get rid of the crappy music. Maybe he can have fun and all, but I think you gotta shake things up with him a little bit. Just my opinion. We had a Raquel Gonzalez or Raquel R promo, and she will be on next week's show, making her SmackDown in-ring debut. And then we had Sami Zayn going into Roman Reigns' locker room, and Sami was trying to butter up to the tribal chief, said that he acknowledges Roman Reigns. And he heard that Drew McIntyre was getting a little chummy with RK Bro. He said he's a locker room leader, and he heard this. Of course, we know he was just lurking behind them. And Sami said that he heard that disrespectful things were being said about Roman Reigns and his family. And he had a proposal. He said he needs to beat Drew McIntyre to get his credibility back. And he asked if he could get help with that. He said that he will help out Roman Reigns in return, said he could be a very valuable ally to the head of the table. Roman Reigns was quiet. He said nothing. Sami Zayn said, "Good talk," and took his leave. And then once he was gone, Reigns started talking, said to the Usos to take out the guys that were trash talking them, and said to take his name, have them take his name out of their mouths. And that was a little setup for the end of the show. Next up, we had another Lacey Evans promo. Kind of getting repetitive now. I liked the first week. Second week was not quite as good. Third week, it's basically just the same thing. Her dad was a jerk, bottom line. And then she said, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. Talked about her amateur wrestling background and learned how unbreakable she was. And it has made her a motivator and a mom, and made her a United States Marine, WWE superstar, yada, yada, yada. They gotta change it up a little bit. Like, it's basically the same promo every week. You gotta take it to the next level, I think. And then we had the main event of the evening, which was a lumberjack match. Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. The Lumberjacks came out first, Nakamura, and basically all the guys that got nothing else going on. Usos then arrived. Sami Zayn was very happy about this, but then tried to run away, and the babyfaces grabbed him, prevented him from leaving. And then when Drew McIntyre went to the outside, he was physically attacked by the heels. Like, the babyfaces were nice. They were just making sure Sami wasn't leaving. But the heels, of course, beat up Drew McIntyre. McIntyre did regain control, built up some momentum, but then things started to break down. Usos attacked RK Bro, lumberjacks started fighting. Basically every lumberjack match you've ever seen. Sami tried to escape, but Drew McIntyre caught him. Then the heels attacked McIntyre again. And McIntyre fought back. He was back in the ring, and he did this big dive onto all the heels. But as he was doing that, Sami Zayn managed to escape. Again, despite it being a lumberjack match, Sami Zayn escaped. Adam Pearce came out there, and he was not happy. He said, next week, there will be no running. Next week, it will be a cage match. And then Jinder Mahal and Shanky attacked Drew McIntyre. He fought back, Claymore to Jinder Mahal, and McIntyre vowed to take care of Sami Zayn once and for all on next week's show. And that was SmackDown, everybody. Pretty weak show, in my opinion. Like, the Riddle versus Jey Uso match was very good. Easily the highlight. But man, oh man, did this ever feel like a filler show. And they're setting up next week. Next week, they're doing a Beat the Clock challenge with Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. Another WWE gimmick I'm not a big fan of. So, and I heard that they're doing another contract signing next week, which you got to be shitting me, right? And remember, next week's SmackDown was taped after this week's SmackDown. So those fans had to sit through 2 contract signings. Anyways, the spoilers you could check out on NoDQ.com for next week's SmackDown. But next week doesn't sound much better, if any better whatsoever. And we still don't know what Roman Reigns is doing for WrestleMania Backlash. Like, it hasn't been established. I think it's Drew McIntyre. They certainly don't seem to be going in the Reigns versus Shinsuke Nakamura direction. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat, says, so what you're saying is they still haven't announced anything for the WWE title. At any time did Fox announce they intend to cancel this garbage fire? Thank you for that, Hamp. And no, SmackDown still does over 2 million viewers each week. And, you know, it's got some good moments, but lately, I think SmackDown has fallen behind Raw. Raw's actually been the better show as of late. And certainly SmackDown is behind Dynamite. Like, there was a period, maybe a year ago, where I thought SmackDown was rivaling on the same level with AEW Dynamite, but not now. SmackDown has definitely fallen a notch or two. It seems like SmackDown goes in waves. Like, it has its hot streak, and then it gets cold a little bit, and then it gets hot again, gets cold. Right now, I think SmackDown is cold. Like, it wasn't a bad show, but wasn't anything to really write home about. And even Jey Uso versus Riddle, just your standard build. You know, we got the tag team match, so we're going to have the guys do one-on-one matches to see who can get momentum up to the pay-per-view. It's the same old crap. I mean, wrestling's good, but the storytelling is kind of weak and just, well, we got the pay-per-view, we got to kill some time until the pay-per-view type of deal. So I would give the show a C+. Decent show, but nothing special. And I would not recommend it. The only thing, I would not recommend the show as a whole. The only thing I would recommend maybe checking out would be that Jey Uso and Riddle match. It was a very good match, but everything else was kind of just, you miss it. You really did not miss anything significant, anything too noteworthy. So that was SmackDown, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the recap. If you did, please give this video a like and spread the word about the channel. I really do appreciate your continued viewership and support. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you guys Monday night as we start another week of wrestling. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com. Talk to you guys next time.